The people knelt before her, voices full of reverence. Your Holiness, you are God's representative. With your blood, relieve us of our suffering. But for her, this scene, one she had witnessed countless times, had grown tiresome. She had always known this would be her fate, death. The only future she had ever seen for herself. Bless our future without you, they chanted. Bless us, may everyone's time ahead be joyous and holy. But she, the one they revered, would be the one to bless them. Her voice was steady, but filled with sorrow as she spoke. No, I shall be the one to bless you, my dear wife. Her sigh echoed as she felt the weight of her role. Are you all right, Your Holiness? A voice asked, breaking through her thoughts. She looked at the questioner, her gaze distant. I can see the destinies of those I touch. Although the people believed her to be blessed by God, the truth was different. Known as God's wife, she was bound by the will of the priests. Her life was a cursed existence, one of handing out false blessings, with little room for personal choice. You will receive good news soon, one priest said, congratulating a believer. Thank you, Your Holiness. Thank you so much. Finally, I can have a child, all thanks to our God, Olak's mercy and salvation. Yes, you will have a child, she replied mechanically. But by its 9th month, it will be stillborn. Her words were heavy, but she knew better than to dwell on them. She had no power to change what was foretold. It is our duty as priests to oversee everything, another priest reminded her. We must ensure that your divine gift of prophecy is not tainted by the world's corruption. Let us take care of the remaining believers. Perhaps you should return home. She nodded, a sense of exhaustion settling in. I'd like to take a walk outside, if that's all right. I believe it will help cleanse me. The priest hesitated, then gave a curt nod. Do not socialize with people outside, and return within 30 minutes. One of the priests was assigned to follow her. Yes, my lord, he said, as he was ordered to keep a close watch. Every year, on the anniversary of their god's birthday, the citizens would visit the temple to celebrate. She saw their futures, yet was never allowed to speak freely. Her role was to stay silent, only voicing what the priests deemed acceptable. People left offerings at the spot where she would eventually be sacrificed. It was a fate she had long accepted, but still, she wished she could rid herself of this ability. As she walked, a child approached her. Excuse me, Your Holiness. You dropped your glove. Thank you, little one. She smiled, though her heart was heavy. The child gasped. Oh, it's the prophet. The others quickly gathered. You're so beautiful. Is it true that you can see the futures? Though every citizen came during the celebration, only those deemed worthy were allowed inside. One voice interrupted. Of course she can't. Did you really believe that? How could anyone see the futures? Another quickly retorted, Hey, that was rude. Apologize to Her Holiness. The prophet smiled faintly. It's all right. The comment stirred a memory from the previous year. You remind me of someone. At last year's celebration, there was a man who said the exact same thing, with the same expression. Sir Theo Ferard, she muttered, a sense of dread creeping into her heart. She wondered if he was here today. And just then, a voice shouted from the crowd. Noemi Bellin. So, this is where you were hiding? She froze as a familiar figure emerged. The man, his eyes full of fury, shouted, You witch! What did you do to me? The angry voice of Sir Theo Ferard echoed through the temple. You witch! What did you do to me? 1 year ago, the situation had been much different. Didn't you want to go see our great-aunt? Why are we at the temple instead? His companion, visibly annoyed, explained, The elders wanted you to present that offering here as our family's representative. Theo scoffed. Really? A vulgar, money-hungry scoundrel like me? He cursed the elders under his breath. If they had all this money, they should have used it to recover our stolen heirlooms. Are the people here of sound mind? How could they waste their money on such a superstitions? His companion warned, Watch what you say. 3 years have passed since our great-aunt's death, Theo continued, seemingly lost in his own thoughts. It's only thanks to Olak, our god, that we're even here at all. I would have been fine not seeing him ever again, he muttered. On the way here, I saw the Big Dipper and Libra had aligned. Olak's energy filled the heavens and the earth, guiding us safely without losing our way. But his companion shook his head. Not exactly. We were only on time because the clear skies let us see the North Star. Theo, still irritated, suggested, let's just pretend I presented the offering and split it between us. I'll make sure the elders never find out. The other person scolded him. Theo, don't forget that you're here today as our family's representative. What nonsense, Theo grumbled. He's only making me do this because he didn't want to wait in line. He always takes his fair share of other things. They arrived at the temple entrance, and Theo was greeted with formality. Welcome. State your name, please. Let's get this over with, Theo muttered. I am Theo Ferard. Very well, came the response. She hesitated but then began, her voice steady. Sir Ferard, you will attain a great achievement soon. I congratulate you on your coming good fortune. Theo smirked. Is that it? That's something anyone could say. You're going to accept all these offerings for that? The prophet nodded, as if unconcerned by his mockery. Yes. Is there anything else you wish to say before Olak? Theo sneered. It's quite amazing. Some people work their whole lives to buy a single flower, but with just a few insincere words, you're able to collect entire bunches at once. How fortunate indeed. The prophet responded coldly. Well, I suppose the price of these flowers would seem laughable to someone like you. Theo, clearly irritated, retorted, Excuse me, I need to go make this offering now. But as he turned, the prophet called out to him, her voice laced with finality. Sir Theo Ferard, just what do you think you're? Theo attempted to pull away, but she gripped his arm, her voice low and unwavering. I shall show you the true divine power you mock. Her eyes met his with an unsettling calmness. Exactly 1 year from today, the trade company you own will receive a large contract. However, you'll find yourself in debt because it will be too difficult to handle. You will, without a doubt, return to this place. The words seemed to hang in the air, and the prophet's face remained impassive as she continued, You will lose everything. Theo, fuming, scoffed. My perfectly fine ship was smashed to pieces, and the entire inventory was lost at sea. People almost died. Are these the lengths you'll go to force your beliefs on someone? I would never do anything like that. He glared at her, challenging her prophecy. So, you're telling me that was really the work of Olak? Is this the god you all believe in? Give me another one of your god's prophecies. I'll show you just how ridiculous they truly are. But before he could say more, something seemed to shift in the air. His eyes widened. What was that vision I just saw? The prophet stood still, confused and disturbed by what she had just experienced. What was that just now? She thought, her mind racing. Was that truly his future? Or was it mine? Until that moment, she had only seen death in her own future, but now, things felt different. Her thoughts were interrupted by the voice of the priestess. Your Holiness, why are you with an unknown man? The priestess added, The priests had someone follow me again. Do I need to return? If I do, I'll definitely become a sacrifice. As the prophet quickly turned to Sir Theo, she muttered, Sir Theo, teach this way. Frantically, she spoke again, her voice filled with urgency. I need to make sure that what I saw was real. What do you think you're doing? Theo, caught off guard by her sudden action, replied, I apologize for dragging you with me so suddenly, but what would you do if you saw something that you never thought would happen in your lifetime? That's exactly why I came to find you. Your prophecy became a reality. I never lie. The future I saw is real. Suddenly, the prophet noticed something. Is someone there? Quick, hide. Theo looked around in confusion. But where? Before he could finish his thought, a gust of wind stirred, causing the prophet to tense up. Watch out. The prophet shook her head, clearly unsettled. This can't be. How can I be seeing so many different visions of a future I've never seen? She glanced at Theo, startled by his actions. W. Why are you biting my lip? You're supposed to be holy, how could you? Theo, now fully aware of the gravity of the situation, muttered, a statue? Then, this is your grand escape? To the temples? The prophet, her mind still racing, said, Sir Theo, we need to do it again. Theo, looking utterly baffled, asked, do what? I'm not certain yet whether this is my future or his, she replied cryptically. With urgency, she said, kiss. Let's kiss again. Theo, now completely stunned, exclaimed, are you out of your mind? I'll tell you what will become of your trading company, she said, her eyes locking onto his. I'll tell you how you'll resolve this situation. I'll tell you everything you want to know about the future. Theo, not believing what he was hearing, snapped, are you trying to make a deal with me over a kiss? And with my company at that? What sort of trick is she playing this time? And how far will she go? His voice hardened as he added, you'd better be prepared to give me a fair price. I'm the type that hates wasting time on silly nonsense. But the prophet, now seeing things with more clarity, spoke with renewed certainty. I can see it more vividly. This is definitely my future. I thought there was nothing I could change before the power of God. But in his blind spot, I was finally given a chance to live. Turning her attention back to Theo, she said, Sir Theo, some of your ship's supplies are at the bottom of the Iris River, below the sandy cliffs. If you wish to recover the remaining supplies, come and see me again tomorrow. She paused, her gaze softening. Being with this man may help me reach a different ending. The following night, Theo found himself at the Bellin estate, questioning his own curiosity. Why had he returned to meet the prophetess again? He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. To his surprise, the supplies were exactly where she said they would be, and this only deepened his suspicion. Determined to investigate further, he pressed on. Suddenly, a voice called out, Sir Theo. He entered and remarked, damn, you live on a high floor. The prophetess greeted him, her eyes meeting his. You came. You said you wanted to see me. Theo, still confused, responded, what do you mean by that? She blurted out, sleep with me? Theo was taken aback. Do you even know what you're saying right now? Her response was casual, the thing that a man and woman do when they spend the night together. Help me defy this by sleeping with me. She referenced the Gospel of Olak, claiming, God's wife must be a virgin. I no longer wish to be the wife of God. Help me escape this. She continued, we don't have to spend the entire night in the same bed. Just pretend we did it. Theo was flustered. You're not asking me to just do it. You're asking us to get caught by the priests. No, she insisted. Yes. Theo, still hesitant, said, no. I don't have a death wish. That won't happen. The prophetess reassured him, I guarantee you'll be safe. I saw it in my vision. In a few years, you'll be holding an iron crown. Theo was stunned. An iron crown? She nodded. Yes, there's a compass embedded in it, and it's the color of silver. Theo, perplexed, asked, how do you know about our family's heirlooms? She seemed certain. I keep seeing it in your future. Theo began to realize she truly could see something. I'll tell you everything about how your trade company recovers and how you come to possess the Iron Crown. So please help me, Sir Theo? She asked, am I too heavy? He quickly responded, it's not that. As she offered to change positions, the prophetess handed him a book. The maids were passing it around. It says all we have to do is spend the night like this. Theo sighed, exasperated. If we're just pretending anyway, do it however you like. After a moment, he asked, how long do you plan on staying like this? She asked, are you uncomfortable? Shall I change positions? Theo groaned. Why are you not moving? Is this what you think sleeping together means? Yes, she replied. The priests should be quite shocked when they find out, right? Theo, frustrated, realized this could take a while unless he stepped in. Nothing will happen the way you're doing it. He instructed, starting now, I want you to start moaning. The prophetess was startled. Wait. Suddenly, the door burst open and the priests rushed in. Theo was caught off guard by their speed, seemingly monitoring her from the beginning. "Back away from her holiness," they shouted. Theo looked at the prophetess, worried. "Are you all right?" One of the priests muttered, "You'd better keep your promise. Because of this, I may have to live the rest of my days condemned by the believers, but it's better than dying and being praised for it." The priest continued, "Noemi Bellin, you're a woman to be offered as God's wife. That servant doesn't know why he's being punished right now. No one must know of the sin you committed tonight. They demanded. It never happened. Do you understand?" One of the priests added, "Sir Ferard has been warned to keep his mouth shut." With a tone of grim satisfaction, the priest continued, "How fortunate we are that God closed his eyes for a moment. By the generosity of the majestic Olak, you are still his wife. When you come of age, the ancestral rites will proceed as scheduled." The priest solemnly informed her, "The day you come of age, the ancestral rites will proceed as scheduled." Noemi, trembling, protested, "If you place me on the altar after I've been sullied, there may be disastrous consequences." One priest snapped back, "How dare a mere sacrificial lamb presume to know the will of God? You've already dishonored us and Olak today. Stop soiling what it means to be his wife. Go back and reflect on your actions." Later, Theo was scolded. "What did you do in there? Do you know how much it costs just to get you out? You're fortunate the Bellin estate wants to keep today's events a secret." "No," Theo asked, "why don't they want it to spread?" The priest replied, "They don't want it to spread. I hope you've learned your lesson. Don't get involved with them again. As the elders say, a noble should act like a noble." Meanwhile, Theo was consumed by guilt and frustration. "I can't believe I'm doing something like this again, because of her." Elsewhere, a conversation unfolded about Noemi's plight. Someone whispered, "I feel sorry for her holiness. Even though they were born on the same day, one gets to have his portrait displayed, while the other lives imprisoned. That's unfair. At times like this, even being too beautiful is a sin." Another voice commented, "She's God's wife, in name only. How is this different from murder? Lord Enzo will soon marry a young noblewoman, while her holiness will likely not be around to witness it." A third person quietly added, "They call her Olak's wife, but her life is more miserable than ours. I thought she was a princess wrapped in comfort and flowers. Was I wrong?" Meanwhile, Noemi sat in despair, her fate sealed by Olak's will. She thought, "Nothing's changed. I can't change anything. That's how Olak is. That's how my fate will be. I'll merely die helplessly." Suddenly, Theo arrived, saying, "It's me." "Sir Theo?" Noemi gasped, "You were meant to be a sacrifice." Theo replied softly, "Try to cry a little softer." He continued, "Offering a human to a god who exists for the sake of humans. I'll never understand it. The elders believe it will appease Olak and that he'll have mercy on us. That's the word of Olak, so they tell us. Whatever their affiliation, old people create so many problems. They believe only what they say is correct. A noble owning a business? How vulgar. You'll bring ruin to your family." Theo thought aloud, "Let's just pretend for a moment that Olak does want a wife. Do you also want that?" Noemi shook her head, "No. I've only ever been terrified and wished to escape. I even tried rebelling against them. Still, nothing changed. I'm just going to die in the end." Theo's voice softened. "If you don't want to die, then you don't have to. Live the life you want from now on. Rid yourself of the status you hate." He hesitated, then asked, "What do you think about marrying someone else instead of God, so you don't have to be a sacrifice anymore?" Noemi was shocked, "But who would ever marry me? Marrying someone like me would go against our god Olak's graces." Theo, confident, responded, "It should be someone who is unafraid of Olak and is in need of your prophetic powers. It just so happens that I know of a country where marrying someone like you is allowed." Slan. Theo's words hung in the air. "You already know I'm not afraid of him. And I'm in need of your power. So, you should marry me." Theo's voice was steady as he made his proposal. "You should marry me. When I was in Slan on business, I saw that the people there were free to love and marry as they pleased." He hesitated, then added, "If you marry me, you might never be able to return to this country. But are you all right with that?" Noemi, after a brief pause, responded, "It's all or nothing, I suppose. but you've been correct twice so far. If you help me find the heirloom, I can live without ever seeing my homeland again. So, tell me what you saw. Theo's eyes narrowed, his voice firm. Can I truly use this man's future as collateral just so I can live? If you become a normal woman, the people here will no longer have any reason to hold on to you. You'll get the freedom you desire, and I'll get what I want as well. Yes, like I said, this isn't one-sided. It's a mutual agreement. After a moment of reflection, Noemi nodded. Very well. I accept your offer. The news of the engagement spread quickly. Her Holiness is engaged. She's to marry Sir Theodore Ferard. Rumors swirled. Can a holy woman like her really get married? So, do we still refer to her as Her Holiness or not? The wedding announcement was made at dawn, leaving the people buzzing with questions. Meanwhile, a frantic search for Noemi ensued. How can you not know where Olak's wife is right now? A voice demanded. Judging from the missing horses, it seems she fled by land. That wench. She's begging to be killed. Go find her this instant. The search party quickly set off. I see Her Holiness, one of them shouted. But it wasn't her. It's not Her Holiness. They realized the horses they were using were much faster and feared they would be caught if they pursued. Theo, calm as ever, devised a plan. If I release a few horses, they'll think we're trying to escape by land, but we'll escape by sea instead. Despite the confusion, Theo and Noemi managed to evade the searchers. Everyone's aboard. Cast off. Noemi's thoughts raced as she turned to Theo. Sir Theo, why did you bring a bird? Theo explained, I have a good friend who lives in Sloan. He's trustworthy, so I'm sending him a message. Noemi was struck by how everything seemed to be falling into place. Wow, you should keep it on. You're too noticeable, she said. What will become of the servants I left behind? They'll be fine, Theo reassured her. The journey to Sloan is long, so we should. Noemi's heart skipped a beat as she realized, this isn't an illusion for my visions. It truly is the ocean. Noemi couldn't help but be amazed by the vividness of the ocean around her. It's so much more vivid in person, she murmured, noticing the air had a foul scent. Is this what the ocean smells like? She spotted something in the distance. I've seen those in books, whales. They really do travel in groups. Theo, who was ever cautious, warned her, be careful. We still have a long way to go, so it'll be troublesome if you get hurt. Noemi was eager to share her discovery, calling out, Sir Theo, there were whales over there. But Theo corrected her, they're dolphins, not whales. He glanced at the horizon. 2 more days until we reach the black rocks of the wasteland. After we cross that, we can get help from him. But the problem is her. He paused, looking at Noemi with a hint of concern. Considering everything that's happened in just half a day, Noemi offered to help with some food, but Theo cautioned her, don't just eat whatever you're offered. He noticed she was holding the dog's food. It was eating anything people offered, she explained with a wince. Theo responded, what did you do that made your hair get this tangled? Back in the present, Theo's worry grew. I think she might die before we reach our destination. As they sailed on, Noemi spoke up, her voice filled with gratitude. Sir Theo, there's something I wanted to tell you. Thank you. This is the first time I've ever been this happy. Theo raised an eyebrow, noting, and this is the first time I've ever been so exhausted. He suggested, I'm tired, so why don't you go dance? But she was already full of energy. All right. Theo couldn't help but smile at her boundless energy. The first time you've been this happy, huh? I thought something like this might happen since she's never been on a ship before. But moments later, Noemi's energy faltered and she groaned. Sir Theo, I'm dizzy. Theo recognized the symptoms. It's seasickness. Noemi reflected, I didn't see anything like this in my visions though. Theo teased her gently, you see the future of others so easily, but not your own? What sort of power is that? Noemi sighed. I'm not able to know everything from my prophecies. I only see specific instances. I can see a bird flying, but I don't know where it's going. She admitted, that makes me feel uneasy. Theo, serious now, responded, you're a prophet who doesn't know everything, yet I've risked a lot for you. He couldn't help but ask, "There's something I've been curious about. Just how important is this heirloom that you've sacrificed so much for?" Noemi paused before replying, "It is something that can prove the value of my life. There was only ever one adult I trusted and followed. I inherited it from him. I'll do whatever it takes to get it back." Theo's curiosity remained, but Noemi dismissed it. "There's no need for you to know such things yet. That's for adults." Not deterred, Theo pressed on. "Then you can at least tell me about Slán, right? What sort of place is it?" Noemi's eyes softened as she described it. "It's a land as fertile and lively as those who live there freely. It's like an oasis in the middle of the desert." She looked ahead, hoping for a better future. "I hope, like its name, we can find comfort there." Theo nodded, pointing to the horizon. "Do you see those black rocks over there? Once we cross them, we can become citizens of Slán, which means we'll be able to receive their protection." Just as Noemi began to feel a glimmer of hope, a shout broke through the air. "Let's get down." Theo's urgency was evident, and Noemi's heart raced. "No. Have they caught up already?" Theo's worst fear was confirmed. "Enzo." Enzo's voice echoed in the distance. "How did they catch up so quickly?" Noemi was impressed. "Quite impressive, Noemi. Or should I be complimenting the one who's accompanying you?" Enzo mocked. He had watched them take the ocean route and reach the border. Theo urged Noemi. "Sir Theo, go." He prepared to pursue. Enzo found the situation amusing. "It's rather amusing," he remarked. "Being that desperate. She's experienced her entire life how pointless it is to try to escape." Theo and Noemi exchanged a tense look. They knew they were too slow to outrun Enzo. "We're going to get caught at this rate," Theo admitted. Noemi was the first to act. "To the shadows," she shouted. "We only need to get to the shade beneath the rocks." Theo's eyes widened in realization. The shadows? Could it be? Noemi urged him. "Hold on tight." They galloped towards the rock formations. Enzo, watching their desperate attempt, scoffed. "Is that all? There was no point in coming here. Seeing how reckless they were, I thought something would be different. But I guess I expected too much." Enzo was unimpressed as they tried to escape, but then something caught his attention. "Ugh." Theo gritted his teeth as he pressed on, still determined to protect Noemi. Enzo's eyes flickered with malicious intent. "To think that there was someone so daring among the devout Ferards, and you're even trying to marry a holy woman." He smirked darkly. "According to doctrine, your entire family should be killed. But our priests wish to be generous, so only your life will be forfeited." Noemi's heart raced at Enzo's threat. She saw the hatred in his eyes, realizing he might harm Theo. She couldn't let that happen. "No, I can't let that happen," she thought fiercely. She shouted, "Your Holiness." "Stop, Enzo. If you touch him, I'll cut my throat. Let him go." In a desperate cry, she continued, "My brother would never let me die. Because I'm a sacrifice for God. Let him go," I said. "I won't go back there regardless." Enzo sneered. "You're little more than a cornered mouse. Why do you continue to struggle?" The situation became even more dire, but just then, a voice broke through the tension. "Everyone stop." "Lord Enzo," one of his followers shouted, concerned for his well-being. Enzo hesitated for a moment, then stepped back. A calmer voice, belonging to someone from Slán, spoke next. "We have a saying in Slán, wherever the shadow of our mother rock reaches, is our land. You might not have heard it, though." In his letter, Theo had been assured he would arrive safely at the rocks. However, had he arrived any later, the situation could have been far worse. Enzo greeted him, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You've made quite the flashy entrance, Theo. Had I come any later, I'd be speaking to your headless body." He then demanded, "Identify yourselves." With a glance at Theo, he added, "Just like the handsome young man you have there, all those who come in search of Slán's citizenship are most welcome. But I see you're here at the border with weapons. That's a different story." Enzo recognized the man next to Theo, noting that tat. "He's a knight of Slán Palace. If we continue, this could escalate." One of the men stepped forward, lowering his weapon. Good. At least one of you is sensible, Enzo said. Now, before the shadows grow any longer, leave my friend and get out of here. Oh, and leave my spear behind as well. The group seemed uncertain, but their leader quickly gave orders. There's nothing more we can do. We'll report what we've witnessed here to the Archbishop. He'll decide what to do. Theo, relieved, saw a familiar face. Sir Theo, a voice cried.
Dash.
Thank goodness. It was Pierre, his old friend. Pierre approached, giving Theo a critical look. Ugh, you're still the same as ever. You put on a good act in front of them. Theo chuckled. I had to show them how close we were, didn't I? Turning to Noemi, Theo introduced her.
Oh, Noemi.
This is Pierre. He's the friend I mentioned who lives in Sloan. Pierre smirked. With this, consider my debt to you paid. No, don't be ridiculous, Theo replied, then turned to Pierre. By the way, how did I marry such a beautiful woman? It makes no sense. Pierre was distracted for a moment, staring off as a vision passed over him. Sir Theo's heirloom, he muttered. Why does he have it? Is he going to help us find it? He then scoffed. They sent all those soldiers just to retrieve this little girl?
His voice softened.
I thought you were going to be single for the rest of your life, but you were romantic after all. Theo shot back. Shut up. Pierre smirked, but then something seemed to click in his mind. He's Sir Theo's friend. He said he could trust him. I shouldn't overthink it. Pierre changed the subject. I'll personally escort you to my village. Rest there for a few days. Theo smiled. That's quite honorable of you. You must have an abundance of free time these days, Commander. Pierre's face hardened. I quit.
Wait, what?
Theo asked, surprised. I fight crime in my hometown now, Pierre explained. Theo raised an eyebrow. You are the best knight in your country, so why? Pierre's answer was cryptic. If he didn't tell me about it, then there must be something keeping him from saying why. He continued, well, his village is as large as the capital anyway. Let's make preparations to receive our guests. Noemi must be exhausted, so it would be good for her to rest as well. After a moment, Theo led Noemi to the horse. Let's get on the horse. Where are we going? Pierre's response was upbeat. To one of the most beautiful villages in the country.
Anthra.
It's located on a major trading route with neighboring countries, so you can see all types of people and goods. You'll like it. As they neared the village, Pierre extended his hand. We're almost there. You haven't been a guest here in a while. Here, take my hand. Noemi hesitated, then reached out, but as she took a step, she stumbled. Are you all right? Pierre asked, concerned. Noemi nodded, but then gasped.
Ah, careful.
The land is not as it once was. Pierre helped steady her. These days, there are parts of the land that try to drag people under. Follow me and watch your step. He warned them about the dangers of the land, where the sand could unexpectedly grab hold of those who weren't careful. Upon arriving, Theo stared in disbelief at the desolate landscape before him. This is Anthra? He asked, shocked. What happened here? Pierre answered with a grim tone. Anthra is the old name. It's now known as the Wailing Oasis. The ground has been cursed, and howling is heard every night. It's a long walk to the hall, so I'll explain on the way. He continued, the Anthra you remember was once the center of trade, a paradise with fertile land and plenty of water. People believed that the abundance would last forever, but that all changed when a letter arrived from the palace. Starting today, Anthra shall be designated as a plantation site for the holy flower, Anthra, and will be specially governed. The people hoped that by taking care of the flowers, they'd receive the king's favor. Pierre's expression darkened. However, it only took half a year for excitement to turn into despair. The flowers began consuming incredible amounts of water, ruining the soil and depriving the people of their drinking water. In the end, Anthra became a barren wasteland, and even the flowers withered and died. The merchants left, one by one, and we were no longer known as the center of trade. What you see now is all that remains. Theo's thoughts raced as Pierre mentioned Anthra, the white flower. Wait, Theo said, his mind piecing things together. The white flower, is it the same as the one Pierre spoke about? Could the flowers that people offered her be the same elopes? His concern grew. If that's true, then Noemi, he began, but was cut off by Pierre's voice.
Now.
We have a special guest today. Let us welcome my friend, who has never forgotten our land. Theo tried to keep the situation casual. What's with the welcome? We've seen each other often enough. Pierre chuckled. True, but this is the first time for your wife. Just enjoy it. As they exchanged pleasantries, Theo's attention snapped back to Noemi's gloves, marked with the Bellin family insignia. His heart sank. Damn it, that mark, he muttered. I forgot that her gloves have the Bellin family insignia on them. There's no way the people here won't recognize it. He quickly leaned toward Noemi. I think it would be best to remove your gloves. It's proper manners in this country. Noemi, confused, nodded, handing them to him. Okay. As they conversed, someone asked, So, what did you do for a living? You're the wife of my close friend, yet I know nothing about you. Theo answered for Noemi. Oh, she's the daughter of an important family. Her elders are all officials of the monarchy. We married in a rush, so she didn't have a chance to make her social debut. The conversation shifted, with someone commenting on Theo's marriage, an important family's daughter. You say, you married up, Theo? Suddenly, attention turned to the royal family's flag. Why are the royal knights here? Someone asked. They must be out on reconnaissance. Let's go greet them, Theo replied, walking toward the knights. Greetings, Sir Hugo, Theo said, recognizing one of them. Hugo Montemond responded, I thought you looked familiar. Your family is going through a lot, I hear. The royal family keeps the Bellins in check. And among them, Hugo Montemond has the worst reputation, but I believe this will soon pass. Theo's voice was steady. Is that so? Then I wish you luck. Hugo's gaze shifted to the group with Theo. Your group seems small compared to the prize they were trying to capture, he remarked. Theo's eyes narrowed, sensing danger. Noemi, hide somewhere far away. Far enough so I never find you. Hide and protect the things that are precious to you. For me,